Hello, everybody, and welcome. We made it to 100. So glad to have you with us. This is episode 100 of our virtual stage, and we want to do something special. So we have some old friends who are coming to visit. But I was talking to everyone backstage. This is a song I've been working on for a while. And I thought this is a good time as any to just share it. And I've never performed this song before, and I'm excited to debut it on our 100th episode. And I hope, Matthew, if the microphone needs to get, if it's too loud, let me know and I'll adjust. But without further ado, this is our one-day anthem. Why wait for tomorrow? How much time do we need? When the pieces come falling down, would you pick them up with me? Would you pick them up with me? When we open our eyes, will the light set us free? Will you treat me as human? When we disagree, do we pretend to be neighbors? Do we pretend to want peace? Looking in my reflection, is it you that I see? Is it you that I see? All that we've endured, we're a part of something more. One day is today. Hold on, why wait? Why waste a lifetime waiting for a sign? Right now is the time. Together we shine. Together we rise. All that we've endured, we're a part of something more. One day is today, one day is today, one day is today. Hold on, why wait? Thank you all. So I am really just honored to be made it to this 100th episode. What we created, when Matthew and I started, this is all in the middle of, the COVID wild world upside down, and we wanted to have a space for you to share your gifts. You all, I've been afraid, most of my life of who I am and who I might be and what I have to offer this world. And I'm, the things that, happened to me that made me feel different, and the stories I told myself when I was bullied or when I was just different culturally, it was all a story that I believed. And, it was something that I never, I always tried to compensate for. And it was just like this something I carried around with me. And I would assert everybody in this world has something beautiful, has something to contribute that raises us all up, that lifts us to new heights that we didn't even know is possible, things we couldn't even imagine. And that's what this space is for you, and just you to share your beauty and your gifts. And there's no limit to what's possible when we recognize that in each other. So let me just Matthew, let's just get in here, 100th episode. Like, we did it.
I don't know how we did it, but we did it. It's here. It's happening. Man, thank you for the song. That was beautiful. It really was. It's come a long way from the early versions that I heard, and I appreciate the questions very, very much so. Like, I actually got chills listening to it, which is always a good sign. Like, it feels like you took a lot of the conversations that we've had and brought up the questions and really just left them in there. Like, it's time to drop the excuses. It's really that's really what I feel in that. Like, it's time. Like, it's time to drop the excuses. Whatever. If you're not being what you came here to be on this planet, what are you doing? Why are you not being what you came here to be? What are you waiting for?
What's in the way?
It's not going to get any easier.
Right.
You know?
Absolutely.
Start today, right now, one day, today.
Well, I'm really excited that we have some old friends coming to pop in. So, Matthew, I want you to. Do you think we should just have everybody, or do you want to let everybody have a little spotlight to share what they're up to?
Let's bring everyone on really fast. That feels more appropriate. And I think as we're doing this, let's go around the room and just introduce yourselves really fast. Kind of tell the audience, tell everyone what brought you here and what is your one day. And I'm just going to go in the order that you are on my screen. So, Sophia, you are first up.
The one day happy hour is here.
Yes.
Congratulations, guys. 100. Wow, that's big. I'm honored to be on here. And just, Abram, thank you so much for serenading us. And just, the public may not know how much a part of music is of your life and how much it's been missing for quite a few years. So it's just incredible that you were willing to get back in touch. And most people don't realize how challenging that is when you've been out of it for a while, to put yourself out there to write a song and then to perform it in front of all of us. So thank you. Thank you, Sophia. Acknowledge you for that. Yeah. So what's been up for me? Man. So yeah, COVID happened. I don't know if you guys heard about it, but there's this thing that just happened. And for me, what it looked like is I lost 7 family members and friends to it. And so it affected me personally. And it was the last year and a half has taught me to deal with grief. Like, and what does that look like? And it doesn't matter how successful I am in business and all these incredible successes that I'm having, you know, I'm not immune to that and to what that looks like. And so, yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Thank you. Judy.
Hello, everyone. So excited to be here. And Abram, that song was amazing. Thank you so much for sharing it. I remember being on your show early on, probably in April, right? When you guys first started.
Yeah, it's really early on.
Yeah. And during that time, I was still, I think, in the middle of writing my book, or I had just launched my book. And for me, I think the thing with COVID is it really just exposed what was already inside of us. And your song is so fitting because for me, it really taught me to not waste any more time, right? Like, one day is today. What is it that you want to do? What is it you want to gift to the world? What is it that you want to birth into the world? And sadly, you know, my tragedy happened in 2019 before COVID, when I lost my 18-year-old son. And truly, he was the greatest teacher for me. And he taught me how to live authentically. He taught me how to live unafraid. And he taught me how to not really care what people think. You know, he was so brilliant and so young, and he accomplished so much. And he's my greatest teacher. And because of that, I share about him in my book and my grief journey. Sophia, to your point, grief is something that we're all going to experience at, one point or another. And so I'm very grateful that I'm able to be just a thought leader during this time to really help connect people, help empower people, and equip them with tools on how to overcome grief during uncertain times. So I'm honored to be here, and I just love what you guys are doing. Congratulations to 100 episodes. That is no small feat. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. JW, you're up. Your mic's muted, brother. Hold on. Let me see if I can unmute you. Nope, you're still muted.
There you go.
There you are.
I had muted it because of the construction going on next door. I didn't want the banging to interfere with everybody. But I think they're about to knock off from work. So I think we'll be okay now. I just said that I am humbled by these ladies who are doing things purely from an altruistic point of view to try to help people. I'm a dyed-in-the-wool capitalist. And the things I'm doing have to do with money and power and how to make things happen. However, as I was explaining to Abram, there's a new class of capitalists out here, what I call the progressive informed capitalists. Those of us who paid attention and saw that all of the work of the capitalists over the last 150 years has had short periods of success and long periods of failure, because they failed to pay attention to the fact that capitalism requires a successful, vibrant population of people to be able to be sustainable. Because at the end of the day, somebody has to buy your products. As Henry Ford told his meeting of the big robber barons back many years ago, when they complained about him paying his people too much, he said in very colorful language, because Henry Ford was a guy from the streets, he said, if you SOBs aren't willing to pay your people enough money to buy my cars, how are my cars going to get sold? I got to pay my people enough money for them to buy my cars, or else I'm not going to sell any cars. Because they were complaining about him paying his people 15, 20% higher during the Depression. And he was embarrassing them. He told them to go basically kiss his butt. So the colorful Henry Ford, which had many, many bad parts to him, but one thing he was right about, to be successful long term, capitalism has to kind of come into a peaceful world with socialism and progressive thinking. So to that end, I'm here to tell any business person, all people who want to launch businesses, as I told Abram, set aside a percentage of your revenue of your nonprofit, or a percentage of your profit, if you're a for-profit company, for your people, your employees, and for your community. We follow the 80-20 rule. So we take 80% of our profits and we behave like traditional capitalists and we use our money. We take the other 20% and we try to give as much back of that to our people. And we also try to launch public works that help our world. So for example, I was telling Sophia, we need to build houses for our people in Nigeria. There's just no way to sustain the intellectual capital that you have to make a farm successful. We have a 10,000 hectare farm and it's growing to 100,000 hectares. Our joint venture partner has a 30,000 hectare farm. And for those who don't know, a hectare is 2.5 times an acre. So if you do the math, 10,000 hectares is 25,000 acres. But the point is, we need one worker for every 2 hectares. So if you do the math real quick, 100,000 hectares needs 50,000 people. They have children, they have families, And here's the problem. The best land is located 2, 3, sometimes 4 hours from the nearest metropolitan center, even in Nigeria. So where are they going to eat? Where are they going to live? If you don't provide that for them, eventually they have to leave. So you would have spent a year, 2 years, 3 years training them, teaching them how to use equipment, teaching them the land, how to grow, and then they're gone. And now you're doing it all over again, and ultimately you will fail. So in our view, we have to partner with the Vatican, we have to partner with the social services institutions around the world to join with our 20% to build housing for 500,000 people. Because 50,000 workers are each going to have children. Sometimes they'll be paired, you know, both husband and wife working, right? But they're still going to have 2 to 4 children per worker. So you're talking about 150,000 to 250 people right off the bat. And then you have to have teachers, and you have to have hospitals. And you have to
I think that's a really valid point. I want to let Sophia interject. I think she wanted to say something, but I think that's a valid point. That no, you're great. I think that's a great. That's the thing I kind of think this is all about, is how do we care for our neighbor on like, you know, and that's ultimately what this is about. But I want to open this up because I want that's a great thing to look at, is, you know, as we have private organizations caring for like the more we see how we our environment, our physical, our emotional, our like every space we exist as a society impacts each other. You know, how, like, what is our role when, what is the collective role? Like, and I want to, this is kind of the open question, but I want to let Sophia interject to what you were saying, JW.
Yeah, so I'll start off with saying my one day is that the basic necessities are provided to humans, right? To human beings, which is shelter, food, right? Just shelter and food. And then from there on, they have that basic foundation to be able to thrive, right? So what you were speaking about to me was conscious capitalism. It's that emerging economic system that builds on the foundation of capitalism that John Mackey, the founder of CEO of Whole Foods, you know, he created this conscious capitalism, this movement, this that there's a higher purpose. While profits are essential and vital for a sustainable business, conscious capitalism focuses on the purpose beyond the profit, right? So it contributes to a culture of trust, care, cooperation among the company's employees and all other stakeholders. And I have found it leads to more lucrative solutions. So for me, being the CEO of EverSmart City, we build affordable housing, and we do it out of shipping containers, and in third world countries, fully sustainable cities. So I absolutely believe that if we make sure that people's basic necessities are taken care of, you're going to see a massive reduction in mental health will be bolstered. You'll see a massive reduction in crime, violence, and poverty. So a lot of things can be handled with what you just said. And why that matters to everyone is because that just providing those basic necessities, when you don't have those, you said people move away. That's at best. At worst, that's when you put people, good people that would normally, you know, be law-abiding citizens, you put them into survival mode, and their kids and their family, and now they're doing things that they wouldn't normally do just to survive. So it's in all of our interests to take care of each other in just the basic necessities.
Yeah,
well, thank you. I had not put a name on it. So it's conscious capitalism. Thank you. And everything you said is built into our business plan. Food, clothing, shelter, medical care, education. We even have recruited a superintendent of schools in south of Chicago to come, and she's already designed a school system for us, for the many kids that will be the future of this project, and hopefully this project will expand around Africa and around the world.
There's another piece to that I'd like to kind of bring in, and that is the bigger picture of meaning. When we as people have those basic needs met, and we're not constantly worried about that, we're not stuck in that just trying to survive mode. We have the opportunity to start looking at what thriving really is. And to thrive is to really bring in our own creativity into whatever we're doing. And so not only by providing those basic needs that you guys are talking about, like not only are you just providing that, but you're also giving people an opportunity to really start thriving, to really start creating and contributing to what it is they're doing and finding their own meaning in it. And that's where things really start to explode in my experience, is like building that co-creative aspect of the world.
Matthew, may I say that you hit the nail on the head. The purpose of this is creativity. We want every person to stop worrying about their next meal and start thinking about how can we make the farm more productive? What else can we do to help the communities that we're in to grow and thrive? That is exactly the point, creativity.
I love that. Judy, you're over there kind of vibing. What's going on?
May I say something to Judy? Judy, I lost my son in February to COVID. And my son, I've also lost nephews and nieces, Sophia, here recently. And the sad part is they were our future. They were the best of us. My son was my best friend in the world. And I have two sons, but my son was the best friend. He was a wonderful young man. He was 28 years old. He had sickle cell disease, but it wasn't the sickle cell that took him, it was COVID. And it was just real painful. The grief that we've suffered, I've managed to deal with it by being grateful. Grateful for the experience of having known him, grateful for all the wonderful people who loved him and knew him, and grateful for the opportunity to continue in his name to do many, many good things.
Thank you for sharing. So sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's so hard. I love what you guys are doing, and it's so humbling to be in your presence, to see your global vision, and really, it's just so inspiring. And I think for me, I start with the people with the seed that's been planted in them to think bigger and to have the creativity to really put themselves out there for these ventures. I also do coaching now with different companies and, grief coaching and different things. So it's amazing that when we get out of our own way, we're able to have the Sophias and the JWs out there really on the front lines, as well as you guys with One Day, right? That started as just a seed, an idea of you guys were proactive during a time when nobody knew what to do. And you stepped into leadership and you were like, hey, we're just going to put this platform together. And here we are 100 episodes later. Look at all the people that you've touched. So just humbled to be here, you guys. And I love, the vision and the global vision of really how do we help our neighbor, right? So thank you.
And all this brings up a question. Like, COVID has in a way been a collective traumatic event. And there is collective grieving that's happened because of it. All of us have been touched by it in some way. And so, JW, I feel like you really nailed it when it's the gratitude for the experience we had and the lessons we learned from it that really kind of helped move us forward and take us out of that grief into what's next. And I guess the big question is what is next for all of you? Like, what do you see coming from the experience of COVID, and what have you learned in it? And I guess just popcorn style, whoever's ready to pop first.
I'll go.
Go.
This week, I just launched and opened a fitness studio here in Scottsdale, Arizona. And again, I would have never had the courage to do something like this had it not been for my experience losing my son. Because when you're that intimate with death, as you guys have shared, there's something that turns on in you. There's a switch that turns on, and you realize, you know what, I might not have tomorrow. So what is it that I'm going to do today that I really just want to do? Just do it, right? And actually, that is the name of my studio. It's called Get It Movement, because it was born out of adversity. No one's going to give it to you. You have to get it. And it's a holistic healing place where we're really connecting mind, body, and spirit, and helping people to have a holistic experience in their health and wellness. And especially right now with COVID, we talk about a lot of things, but we really want to get to the root of how can we help people get healthy from the inside out. And that's not just physical, that's definitely, mental and spiritual. So I'm very excited. We just launched that this week. I'm already working on my second book, and I've been busy. I've been very, very busy, but I've been really excited because I feel like this fire inside of me that, and Jacob's right there with me. I feel like he's supporting me. He's, cheering me on, giving me the strength and the courage to keep going. And I'm just really having a great time living every day like it was my last, because that's how we should live, because we're not promised tomorrow. And I'm just really excited and really grateful to be able to do what I'm doing now, really being, a place in the community that it's a safe place that people can come to for healing, for restoration, for health, for wholeness. And it's just been an awesome ride. So that's what's up for me.
Judy, are you familiar with Mind Valley, the meditation?
Yes.
Are you familiar with them? And also the leader of that organization, it's formed out of Silver Mind Control. I don't know if you're aware. I took Silver Mind Control like when I was, 20 years old. But it's all about meditation and stuff. And then he's recently partnering with this nutrition person. Mm-hmm. And what this man is teaching is that we all live a diet. And it's really, really progressive stuff. If you're familiar with it, you might want to take another look and see how you can merge that into your fitness studio. So I think it's the nutrition stuff it starts from within, and then then the rest happens. I plan to outlive my grandfathers, and both of them were 96 and 95 when they passed. So I want to dance salsa on my 100th birthday party.
I love it. Okay, yeah, I'll check it out. Thank you.
So, I was just going to say, I love, you're all like proving what this is for me. It's just like how, I just see the collection of, individual experience, and it didn't even occur to me that you and Sophia, Judy, are in Scottsdale. But the world keeps getting smaller, is what I'm trying to say. And it's funny that we've every episode we have people from all over the world, and like JW's literally in Colombia right now and is working out. But it's like what I'm seeing, and this is like COVID is kind of accentuated. Judy was kind of saying earlier, is like what's amazing is how much smaller the world is. And like when something happens overseas, when it's like we're very much more in tune to each other's pain, but also to each other's victories and to each other. And while it used to be something kind of like a very scattered idea, like the Olympic, like it would take something special to remind people that. But I feel like there's like a new connected world that we have these new opportunities that were not here before COVID. And then I feel like what everyone's kind of tapping into is that gratitude of just where we're at, what we have. It's like when we are knocked down on our, because of a global pandemic, it gives us that opportunity to be grateful for what we have. And it gives us an opportunity to see new opportunities that we wouldn't have seen because we're high and mighty succeeding, not thinking about what could go wrong. And so it kind of humbles the world and humbles each other. And I guess that's what I'm really present to right now, is just how each of you in your own career, in your own, commitments still meets there. And it's like, that's just, for me, that's something to be grateful for, and it's something to celebrate.
Yeah. So for me,
getting back to the,
go ahead, JW. Do you want to talk about what's up for you? What are you doing new?
Sophia, you were jumping in. Go for it.
Sophia was first.
All right. So for me, what I've gotten out of.
I didn't hear any.
I think you got a delay because of the Colombian internet.
Yeah.
Because I'm in Colombia, exactly.
Yeah.
So for me, what I've been experiencing through COVID is just absolute, collateral beauty. Let's talk about the absolute awe and wonderment of humans coming back to their heart, especially men, watching them, because now they're at home, they're having to be around their kids and their partners more. So it's just like this beautiful, it's just beauty that I'm seeing all around me. And so for me, I've transitioned from my hedge fund, which is doing amazingly well in crypto. And now I'm moving into building smart cities out of shipping containers that provides affordable housing. And we use renewable energy, and we have sustainable agriculture. So now, and we were already building this when COVID started. So it's like the perfect, it's a beautiful solution to what's going on, because it's like a work, play, live environment. And we've got, our education is there. We've got preschool, daycare, all the way up through high school. So you work, your office is below on the ground levels, all the storefronts, and you live right above, and then your kids are right there. So the village is truly raising, the children. And I take a look at it, and I am super excited to see the growth in the next 1 to 3 years. It's going to be unparalleled, because all these people that had all these callings and dreams and things that were in the background that were stopped before with the I don't have time, now found all of this extra time in the last year and a half. And we're going to start to see the fruition of that, like the results of that. And I'm really looking forward to seeing the brilliance that's going to come through. And I'm also just been watching the collaboration take place, because almost everyone has been touched in some way or another by some sort of loss through COVID. And even if it's not a personal, like somebody physically, you lost some of your freedoms. Like there was some type of loss that just pulls us all together. And I've seen things like the Nextdoor app go flying off the shelves. Like it's just amazing how people are checking on the elderly and people that are quarantining by themselves. There was something that with toilet paper way back when, and there was a neighbor that had a whole stock load and just said, hey, if you really run out, come and get one, so that you're not going to the store, getting yourself infected. And it was just like beautiful things like that. And I saw our neighborhoods put games together all throughout last year for the kids on the sidewalk, and then teddy bears in their windows, and move them around different days. So when the kids were walking, they could look around for animals, and just amazing, beautiful things. If you're willing to look, and really see, there was just this incredible, beautiful year where people got to be quiet and still and listen to their desires and their dreams that they had been squashing down.
I love that. It's so true. And I think what you're pointing to, I mean, it is that collateral beauty, that it's like the beauty we didn't even know. And it's like, and when we can practice looking for the beauty, even when it seems ugly, even when it's scary or unfamiliar or uncomfortable, there's still, and I feel like that's one of the most beautiful things as humans we can do, because that's, I've probably quoted or pointed to this like 40 times, but it's like, but again, what Mr. Rogers said about his mom, how, in times of tragedy, look to the helpers. Like, it is so beautiful how even in the worst, humans are pretty complicated creatures, but even at our worst, there are people still there lifting others up. And I would say more people than like much more than people that have done bad things. And it's like, there's always people there. And I think that's that's what we see. And it's like, it's easy to lose focus of that because things can be scary. They can be overwhelming. They can be traumatizing, but it's something that I think Sophia actually told me that phrase, collateral beauty, first, and it's like, it stuck with me because it's like there's such a beautiful practice in seeing and looking for the collateral beauty. So now I want to give everybody an opportunity to kind of share. Or I mean, Matthew already kind of said, well, did everybody share what's next? I don't know. JW, did you? What's next for you?
What I would like the world of people who want to help. I would like that world, that entire community, to begin to understand that the teachings of Jesus Christ. Now, I'm not a religious man, but I do believe in the teachings of Jesus Christ quite firmly, and I believe he got it right on almost everything. Whether or not you believe he was the Son of God, and that's up to you. But from a philosophical point of view, what he taught was, in my view, that you have to teach people to be successful. Too often, the world of people who want to help is filled with people looking for handouts, looking for other people to help them be more or to have more to eat. And what they fail to listen to is the fundamental teaching that if you teach a man to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. Give him a fish, you feed him for a day. Teach him to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. And to extend that, in my view, because I come from a world of being a political activist and, being dyed-in-the-wool radical and wanting to fight capitalism at every step, and then realizing that and this is what I like the world of helping people and the world of social services to understand. Let's build institutions that can generate revenue. Let's build institutions that can generate money that can then be redeployed to bring along all the rest of the people, where you might find the next Martin Luther King, the next Dr. Christian Bernard. You might find the next person who cures cancer in that group of people that you brought along. And so in my view, I think that's the lesson that I would like for the world of social services to get in their heads. And that's what we're doing. We're about building a community, a city of people who help themselves, who feed themselves, who are productive and contributing and can go beyond their borders. And we believe that's the most profitable enterprise. What caused the Great Depression was only a few men had all the money in their hands, and the people were starving, and they couldn't buy the products that those men had. And that's what caused the Great Depression. If you want a sustainable society, and if you want sustainable programs, teach people how to build sustainable revenue-generating institutions. A fitness studio, a hedge fund, it doesn't matter. Whatever it is, something that brings revenue together to a place where it can then be distributed out to build the next generation of great children into great citizens.
Something I'm noticing, every single one of us here right now, we're all involved in education in some way.
Of course.
And that honestly feels like one of the most important aspects of my life is really looking at not only how we educate our kids as they grow up, but what we're teaching them to do. And yes, teaching them to fish, absolutely. But there's something even more fundamental, which is teaching them how to think for themselves. And that's something I feel like has been missing from Western society in particular for ever, really. Like it's never really been part of our culture is teaching how to think for ourselves. There was one of the big lessons from early on the stage, like this is something that came up over and over and over again on the stage with many of our guests, was we grew up in a world where other people taught us what they believe it was, instead of inviting us to discover what it is for ourselves.
Yeah. Makes for better consumers, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And you know, I don't feel like consumerism is going away, not anytime soon anyway. It's like not in the world that we have today. But
an excellent point, Matthew. People can think for themselves doesn't mean that they're not going to buy from you.
Exactly.
Just means they're going to have more educated choices, right? Like more educated decisions are going to be going around. So, and that's, you know, that's just an old thing that hasn't been changed, right? The whole manufacturing, that whole industrial revolution was about creating consumers to spurn us out of the Depression and out of, you know, World War II. It was necessary back then. It hasn't been necessary for a very long time. We just are very slow to change and transition out of that because it's been generations and engraved in with us. Like most people believe that college is a good place to go after high school. Well, I'll tell you, you know, owning a few technical companies, if you go to college for anything technical, I will never hire you because your information will be outdated. So outdated after 4 years. Why would I everything you learned 6 months, after 6 months is outdated. So there's just, and people have to get their minds around that. Like what? Like, how do you, you know, so it's such a great point, Matthew. You're absolutely right.
Well, I think you touched on an important issue about the foundations of Western civilization, right? I mean, what was Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle teaching? Exactly that. Think for yourself, right? And they were presumably the pillars of the foundation of Western civilization. Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. So to your point, Sophia, I don't disagree that technology is probably not best learned in the school, although I did go to school to be a civil engineer. I mean, that's, you know, I learned how to program code and how to build buildings from going to civil engineering program. But I was at a school where liberal arts dominated. And the point of the higher education was exactly to teach you how to think for yourself. So my college, the whole foundation of it was to teach you how to think, how to view the world, and how to analyze what's going on around you and create a better world. That was my college. It wasn't one of those, you know, technology mills. Okay, I went to Columbia. And then my law school was exactly the same. Their view was not to teach you how to practice law, but to think like a lawyer and to think like a person who wants to organize society in a way that is most beneficial to all its members. That was the point of UVA law, to teach you how to think like a lawyer. And that is what made some of the greatest lawyers in this country. The idea, there were law schools who just taught you black letter law, who just taught you the law. And you knew the law and you could recite it, but you couldn't think beyond it. You couldn't think how to really change society, which is what lawyers are supposed to do. Think.
And I would challenge people to even like embrace teaching that even younger. Like I feel like we could start critical thinking and mindful awareness in kindergarten. I feel
well,
like
not in Texas.
Not in Texas. I mean, like I'm just
you're
saying
not allowed to teach what you want to teach in Texas or Florida.
Yeah, that's a whole other thing. But like, I mean, Judy, both you and JW, like both your sons were very independent thinkers from what I remember. And like I kind of have the question, like, where did that come from in them?
I taught it to my son. My Uncle Manny taught me that he said something to me one day that was very interesting. He said, the day that my children stand up to me and tell me where to go is the day that I know that I've done my job as a father and I can retire fatherhood. Because that's the day that they're thinking for themselves. And I took that to heart. And I taught my children to think for themselves. And I always gave them the vision, go out there and think and view what you want. And my son Xavier, nowadays when I run into a complicated problem, I ask myself, what would Xavier do? And I generally come up with a pretty good answer.
That's so great. Yeah, our son was actually homeschooled because he was so bright and he wasn't getting what he needed in regular school. So we homeschooled him, and he really went after the things that he was passionate about. He taught himself how to program. He was building apps by the time he was 9 years old. He taught himself how to produce music. He was making beats by 14 to, big rappers. And we had no idea where this all came from. But I think to your point is that we underestimate our children in really the brain and their creativity and their passions and their desires. And when they are put in a box, they'll only grow to however that box is. But when you take the lid off, I mean, they can grow exponentially. And so it's really and something that I'm very proud of is that we allowed Jacob to be creative and really do things that he was passionate about. And because of that, he made his mark in this world and really left a huge imprint. Being parents of a musician, right, Abram? It's especially being Asian, right? Like the stereotype, oh no, you have to go be an engineer or a doctor, or, do something. But we didn't do that. We really looked at, okay, well, what are your passions? What are your desires? What is it that you want to do? And we supported him wholeheartedly. And, he had a record deal by the time he was 17 with Atlantic Records. And so it's something that I think as parents, I wish that we can do that more, is how can we support our children with their passions and their desires and really see them flourish.
Yeah, that's so beautiful and powerful. And before we end, I want to give everyone another opportunity to kind of to say one more piece. But to close this last thought, what I really heard, one commonality I heard in what both of you were saying is how you both listen to your children. It's like Judy, you were just saying how like how it's kind of a trope or like how a lot of people say Asian parents expect their child to be something, but I feel like that's something a parent can do, is listen to their child, not with blind, like you can do anything you want, which you can, but it's more like you are so capable of whatever you set your heart to, and like you really listen to them as somebody who's able to make independent decisions and someone who's able to cure cancer, to do what's in their heart. And I feel like without being a parent myself, that's what I really heard in what you're both saying, because you hear the universe in your children, and it shows, and just how you talk about them. And I think that's what I'm hearing we can all do, with our youth, is hear them for the gift that they are, and that they're, in every moment, there's, we all do things that we wish we didn't do or make mistakes, but that we don't hold on to our identity as those things that we've done or the things that happened to us. And listening to, like, at any moment is a fresh, clean slate opportunity to expand into what's possible. And I think that's really what I heard in what you're both saying, is just how you listen, is just hear the universe in your children. And it really is, it's inspiring to hear. So I want to give everyone an opportunity to kind of go around again, but this time I really want to, this is a turning point in the world, as COVID has been a big transition. But not only what I want to know what's next, but I want to know, where do you see what's possible in 10 years with what you're up to, but also with, what our vision is one day is to really share. Humanity is rising in a way that we all have our unique gifts that are contributing to us all. But with this new path and new paradigm, what do you imagine? What do you see as possible in 10 years, in 20 years, in 50 years? But I want to just hear just the future you envision in living in this new paradigm. Sophia, you go first.
Well, I'm speaking from the context that I have so much faith and so much belief in humanity. I would bet on us any day and twice on Sunday. I have it that in 50 years, we have so much technology and the ability to rectify what's going on with the planet from what we have done. Now, naturally, what's going on and the cycles of nature, that's not something we can assist with, but I truly believe that we can rectify that. And I feel like we are going to learn from COVID, and we are going to learn that, you know, you can work from anywhere. You don't have to be living in these conglomerate of congested cities and whatnot, just for a job, that you can be anywhere and work and be even more productive than if you were to go into some building with artificial lighting every day. And I also believe that we're going to remember the preciousness of family and you know, and having someone in your life. You know, there were some that couldn't quarantine with anybody. Like, all the animal shelters were emptied. Like, all the animals were adopted out. And that's an incredible thing, that people turn towards, you know, animals for comfort during quarantining time. So I have it that, man, it's going to just be rocking. We're just going to be really allowing technology to enhance the human experience going forward. And that we are going to, and you can already see it in the youngest generation that's going out into the workforce. They will leave a job. They don't care what you're paying them. They will leave a job if they do not have a higher purpose in that job. And I'm like, whoop, there you go. There it is, right? So I believe that conscious capitalism will be the new wave. And we're already seeing that. We're already seeing that. And that sustainability will also be the new way going forward. It's going to be even more lucrative than our consumerism that's going on now, is to have sustainable products.
Am I next?
Yeah, sorry, I was muted. Judy, you go next.
Okay. Wow. I love that vision, Sophia. And that's beautiful. And I'm right there with you. For me, I just envision the next, 5-10 years that we really learn of the lessons of stillness, mindfulness, understanding that this present moment is really all that we're guaranteed. And how do we live that wholeheartedly? I think one of the gifts of COVID, it's helped us to maybe get out of the hamster wheel a little bit, and realize that, wow, all that energy we're extending out there to, just work. Kind of like to your point, Sophia, that it's more sustainable to work at home, shorter hours, you're more productive. You get more done in less time. And so I'm really excited to see how that's going to project in, the next 5-10 years with companies and the workforce. But personally, I just have a desire and a passion to see people really live wholeheartedly and really heal from the inside out holistically. And I shared that before. Really, the flagship of my studio is how do we help people deal with their unhealed trauma? Because there's a lot of great people out there that want to do great things in this world, but they get stuck, right? And they get stuck with things that they haven't dealt with, a lot of their grief, their loss, their trauma. So that's my wheelhouse. That's what I'm passionate about, is how do I get in there and really help people to see these things that are holding them back, their limiting beliefs, the things that are holding them back from their calling, from their passion, from their desires. And it's something that I just have been doing this whole year through the pandemic. And I've been meeting so many incredible people. And wish to continue to do that and really meet incredible people that I can help and serve. So.
Thank you, Judy. JW, what's your vision?
I have two things that I think I want the world to be paying attention to. Now, I believe everybody should be political. I believe everybody should have a political view and a political philosophy. I'm a very political person myself. However, I understand if you don't. That's okay. I think what people have to do, regardless of my opinion, of course, regardless of their political beliefs, is be about truth and facts. And I think that the people who believe in truth and who believe in facts are just not vocal enough about it. They're not pushing it. They're not talking the truth. They're not staring down lies and shutting them down. They're letting lies permeate our children's mentality, permeate the mentality of 30, 40 million Americans, and the future of this country and of the world depends on, and it's not just US, Brazil is being filled with lies, and there's countries all around the world that are being filled with lies. So you don't have to be political. Just be about pushing truth and facts whenever anybody deviates from the facts we know. I was impressed with Geraldo Rivera the other day, a right-winger, but he got on Fox News and told the truth about Florida. And the guy on the next to him started saying, "You're always telling stories and you don't research it." But Geraldo's facts were dead on and well-researched. It doesn't matter if you're right wing, left wing, middle, it doesn't matter. Push the truth and push it hard. So that's message one. Message two is what I always told my children when they asked me, what did I want them to be when they grow up? And I told them I wanted them to be happy. Happy people are more productive. They get more things done in less time. People who are happy with what they're doing are the best at what they do. You can't beat them. I went to law school and I loved every part of it. I loved getting up in the stacks and reading the stories. And when I actually came out and practiced as a lawyer, I couldn't be beat. Those guys just did not love it the way I did. I wasn't the A student. I was a B student, but I loved it. And anybody who loves what they do is unbeatable. So I think this country needs to remember what was the founding principle of the United States of America. Thomas Jefferson made it very clear in the Declaration of Independence. It's about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And if we want this country, this world, to be what we want it to be, we need to get back to that founding principle. That we need to be about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's my message to the world.
And to all your points, like I love, thank you everyone. Like that was beautiful. I really appreciated it. And truth is an interesting thing. The pursuit of happiness and truth are two things that really stand out in my world right now. And really what that comes down to me is what Judy was talking about, which is really working on discovering the beliefs that are holding me back. The things that I've accepted as truth that have been pushed on me by my family, by my friends, by media, by whatever, and I accepted as true. Like these are assumptions that have created the world that we live in today, and they continue to shape the world we live in today, but not very many people question them. So yes, to all of that, to everything that you just said, and what really makes you happy? Like, I feel like a lot of people get caught up in what they think makes them happy because it's actually distracting. It's distracting them from how they're feeling, from whatever pain that they're feeling in the moment. But long term, is that really something that makes you happy? And what are those things that make you happy? Like, where does your joy come from? Follow that line and see where you end up.
Well, first, Matthew, I'd say to you, it's difficult to get there when you're at our general point in life. We're adults, we're mature, we've had our history. What I'm talking about is, if you do what I did with my children from the very beginning, tell them that happiness is the goal. Children have a much shorter path to their hearts and to their energy than we do. We have, as you pointed out, all of this learning, all of these assumptions, all of this media. Children don't have those obstructions. So as Judy's son figured out early, because he was allowed to, he figured out what makes him happy. He was allowed to, and he was, as a young person, more in touch with what made him happy. We're not. It's work. It's hard work for us to figure out what really makes us happy. We think we know, but a lot of times it's just kind of the pleasures of the world, a Mercedes-Benz, a beautiful woman, a beautiful man, when in fact there are things that if we were still 5 years old, those things wouldn't make us happy. Think about how many children you buy them toys and they'd rather play with the box. Right? Think about how many children you buy them toys and they'd rather play with you. You actually are their favorite toy. And they know that because they know what makes them happy. And we have to encourage our children, all of us, from a very young age, to pursue their happiness. And they will be immensely productive people. They are our future. We can get there, but it's harder for us. Honest with you, I'm not 100% sure what makes me happy. It's hard work. I meditate and I try to figure it out. It's hard work figuring out what makes you happy. I bet you every one of you struggle with, am I really happy, or am I just believing it makes me happy because society says having this nice house and this nice car, living in this nice neighborhood, having these like perfect friends. And then you find out, well, that's not really making me happy. I know that a beach with blue water and white sand definitely makes me happy. I know that. And that's the only thing I'm really sure of. A beach, a boat, that definitely makes me happy. I can't tell you for sure that I know what else makes me happy. And I bet you all of you know that to be true. But your children know what makes them happy. They have no doubt.
It's so funny that you say that, because I'm actually in a place in my life for the first time. I'm 51 now, and I truly feel so content, so at peace, so happy. I was walking my dog in the neighborhood the other day. I see mountains everywhere, and I'm just filled with so much joy and peace, and I just feel so successful, right? Don't look at my bank account, because success to me is not about my bank account, but you know what I mean? Like, there is this total happiness that I feel that in the past I would have felt, oh, I don't deserve that, or I'm not worthy of that, or I'm not, whatever, you fill in the blank. But for the first time, I felt like I could receive it. And it felt so good. And I'm like, I'm just going to stay here. When it's good, accept it. When it's bad, ride the wave, But for the first time in my life, I can really accept it and be proud of, I've worked hard for what I have, and it's okay to be happy with it. So I love the connection, JW, that, I taught my son to be happy. And I think it's because I learned how to be happy for myself. And I think that I never got that connection before. So thank you for sharing that, because that's something I'm really proud of. And that's something that I hope to just spread, is that joy, and to let people know, yes, you can be happy, and you can have peace, and you can have joy, and you can have hope. It's possible. So
smoking hot 51, Judy. Thank you. So for me, I wanted to say a little bit about the truth thing. I'm throwing a challenge flag. So I'm with Matthew. Like, truth is subjective because it's influenced by one's context and one's perspective. So two people can be looking at one thing and the truth can be different for both. So I wanted to say something about that. And that's a slippery slope to dwell into. For me, happiness, it's a choice. At any given moment, it is a choice. So it's irregardless of what's going around you. I will tell you, if you certainly attach happiness to something or someone, then it'll be there for as long as that thing or person is. And I think that that's the wrong wagon to hitch it to. So I think simply by having it be a choice and choosing it consciously and daily or whatever it needs to be is the key to it.
And I feel like
my last word.
Just real quick, we touched on this early on in the conversation, and that's gratitude.
Well, my last word to America is, if every American were to pursue happiness, we would be out of this mire. Either you choose it or you find it, but pursue it. Pursue happiness, and you'll stop being angry at people. You'll stop wanting to beat up people. You'll stop wanting to remove people from being in positions of power or being able to achieve. All of this anger, animosity, if you're pursuing happiness, you don't have time for that. You just don't.
I think that's a great point.
As far as truth is concerned, let me change that. Facts. In my view, facts are not fungible. They're just not. You can say that it may be true that this is good, and it may be true that that's bad, but the fact of whatever it is a fact. And that's what I'm talking about when I talk about truth. And maybe I should not use the word truth, but just use the word facts. We need to make sure that the facts are laid out. As a lawyer, I can take any set of facts and use them to prove any point, but I consider it malpractice. I consider it unethical to change the facts. Doesn't matter the facts. I can convict you or get you off, regardless of what the facts are, by taking those facts and applying different thoughts to it. But the facts are the facts. And as lawyers, we learn you can't change the facts. That's why we tell clients, tell me the truth. Tell me the whole truth and nothing but the truth. Don't sugarcoat it. Don't give me your opinion. I just want the truth. I'll figure out what opinions we wrap around the truth. But the facts are the facts. And that's what this country is getting away from. And that's what this country is being taught to not believe facts, and facts are facts. That's different from truth. But again, the message is, let's all pursue happiness individually and as a family and as a country.
Yeah.
So you actually just brought up something that I feel like is really important, and I would really like to address it if we can. You really brought up the limits of rational, logical thinking. Anyone can take any set of facts, any set of events, and spin them to mean whatever they want them to mean. And that is, I feel like, where a lot of people get stuck, is because they have come up with a certain set of rationalities for why they do what they do. And that is their truth. Like that set of rationalities, whatever events happened in their life, they took those events to mean something in particular. And that meaning that they created out of nothing rules their life.
Well, that's what Sophia is saying.
Yeah.
That's exactly what she's saying.
Once I realized that for myself, that I could literally make anything mean anything, I kind of got to this, it was actually a bit of a despair, like a depressing moment for a little while, because it was like, well, then what do I do? Like, if anything can be anything, then what? That's
not true, Matthew.
What's the point? Exactly.
But Matthew, that's not true. Everything cannot be anything. That is the beauty of humanity. That is the panoply of human existence, that we can take any set of facts and use them to mean anything. I'm okay with that. Take the facts and use them to push your right-wing view, your conservative view, your left-wing view, but take the facts. Don't try to alter the facts to be somebody else. If there is 500,000 people in Atlanta, stop saying that Atlanta is one of the biggest cities in the country. It's barely small. Stop saying it's one of the biggest cities in the country. It's a tiny little bit microcosm. There's only 495,000 people in Atlanta. Stop telling me it's huge. It's got one major league ball team. I come from New York. We had three. We had three hockey teams. We had three NBA basketball teams. I come from New York. So
Matthew,
stop talking.
where are you going with that?
But here's a fact. You can say that Atlanta is a great city. You can say that, even if it's only 500,000 people. But you can't change the fact that it's 500,000 people. That's my point. And what you're saying, Matthew, is yes, we can all be in this world being lost, in this world of our own rationalizations. Okay, that's fine. As long as you're doing it off the facts. You're not changing the facts, then you're entitled to your rationalizations. That's what makes the world what it is.
It definitely makes the world a very dynamic place where almost anything can happen.
Exactly.
Like not almost anything, anything can happen. And I really appreciate that. I love that this grand experiment is someplace that literally we can experience anything we want to experience. Anything.
Exactly.
It's
what I found for me is that relying on rational decision making was limiting my joy. And what I discovered is there's actually something else. There is something deeper, something bigger. Call it God, call it the universe, call it love, call it your higher self. It doesn't matter to me what you call it. I call it intuition. But once I stopped paying as much attention to all the rational thoughts that were going on in my head and let my mind quiet down, this is what Judy was talking about earlier, is this the power of stillness, the power of quiet.
Yeah.
Another voice started to emerge. And it's this little tug, it's this little, oh, just throw this out there, or go turn left instead of right, or like go buy this in the grocery store. It's very subtle and it's very quiet. And if I'm in my head, I don't hear it. But what I have learned, what I've discovered in my experience, is the more I follow that little guidance, the more joy, ease, and gratitude exist in my everyday existence. And that has continued to grow and grow and grow and grow to the point where I can actually sit here with all of you and have this conversation and enjoy every single second of it because it's beautiful. And all of you are wonderful, lovely, amazing people. And I'm so grateful that we get to have these conversations. Not only do we get to have them, we get to have them in public where other people can see it and learn from it and grow from it. Because it is, if there's one thing that I can point to that I feel like has been more detrimental to human society than anything else, it has been hiding things like this, hiding things that we are scared to say, or hiding things that we're ashamed of, or hiding things that we're guilty of, or hiding our grief, or it's hiding those things, and this culture of taboo. Like, let's get all this stuff out in the open. Let's have these conversations, and let's do it publicly and as loudly as possible.
I love it. Yeah, I definitely. I mean, everything that was said is really it's so beautiful to me. Just to see the unique spectrum of humanity and how you all have your own chord and contribution to us all, and it's inspiring. And I want to close now just because this is I want to close off our 100th episode. But one thing that JW you were saying about the pursuit of happiness, what really stuck with me is, the pursuit it's not like a checklist. It's not like, okay, I'm happy and nothing else I ever do is going to make me happy. It's like the pursuit And I just really got the beauty in that, it's for me, that's what one day is today is. It is in action. There's no finish line. And it's like whatever happiness is in your experience, because it's finite, it's not permanent, but it's like, but you pursue it. You fall down. It's not like, oh, I can't be happy, I fell down. It's like, no, you get back up and you pursue. And I think that's the beauty of, the human spirit and perseverance. And when we really experience ourself, our uppercase self, our intuition, as Matthew says, there's something deeper that connects us to, ironically, to everyone, but also to ourselves. It's like when we lose ourselves, we find ourselves, and it's this weird paradox of experience of self, of I am the possibility of love in this world, of leadership, of contribution, of service, whatever it is that lights up your heart. There's something in you that pulls that since a kid, as JW was saying, since you were a kid, you've had something that is that lights you up, and you can't even help it. And when we're all tuned into that, that's where magic happens, and that's what we're celebrating. That's what we're focusing on. That's what we're spotlighting, and that's the space that we hold. And I'm just, again, honored and privileged just to be amongst you and to be able to have this conversation. So thank you all. It's such just a beautiful, beautiful experience to celebrate with you all. And I want to, as we close, I want to invite anybody out there watching this, share your story, be on the stage. This is why we're here, is to share your gift. We want you to share what you have to contribute to this world, because you have something that's beautiful and that lifts us all up. And what our mission here is, bringing you and me and communities together in joyous celebration, unifying humanity in our diversity to create a better world for us all. And that's why we're here. We are our vision. This is our one-day vision. Humanity is rising in a connected world with each person's unique contributions, our gifts, our value. It's being valued and magnified through a higher level of collaboration, producing unprecedented new realms of possibility. And it's really just an honor again. Thank you, Judy. Thank you, JW. Thank you, Sophia. Maybe we'll have you back on if not before then, on the 200th, we'll make this a tradition. But just thank you again. It's really, and thank you all, and tuning in and who've been staying with us, peeping in and sharing your voice, sharing your story. That's what we're here for you, and really to lift you up and to help each other. It's just a question I always ask: how can I help you? Help us help ourselves. And this is what it's about. We're lifting and holding our neighbor, and there's something beautiful can be achieved when we're standing there. And I'm not going to be doing it next week because I'm going to be actually in California visiting family. But the following week, we'll be back on Thursday. I love you all. Be safe. Be well. Just to have a wonderful weekend, and stay cool. Get hydrated. And as always, one day is today, everybody. Peace.